Hey everybody, it's Dr. Eric Walkowicz. We're back for another edition of Thyroid Thursday, and today we're talking about lipids. I was asked a question if I could explain how lipids are associated with thyroid physiology. So here's a video. We're going to talk about what lipids on your blood chemistry panel can tell you about your thyroid physiology. All right. So when we eat food is converted from food energy to cellular energy, something we call ATP. The liver also produces glucose so that we can convert glucose into cellular energy, ATP. Fats release fatty acids so we can convert those fats into cellular energy called ATP as well. So food energy is converted to, and circulating glucose, fatty acids to cell energy. But this is highly regulated by T3 inside your cells. So you need sufficient T3 inside cells to run and support the mitochondria. And these are the engines of the cells that convert that food energy into cell energy we call ATP. So T3 inside the cells is, if you have decreased T3 inside the cells, not necessarily just what's in blood flow or in circulation, but if you have reduced T3 inside the cells, you're going to have decreased mitochondrial conversion of glucose to ATP. Now, liver is one of those big food to energy converting tissues. Muscle is a big food to energy, cell energy converting tissues, but lots of cells need to convert food energy to cell energy. Glucose can be then converted to cholesterol, or it can be converted to ATP. So we have these cells. Inside the cells are the mitochondria. The mitochondria take food energy, and in times of high need, they convert that food energy through something called Krebs cycle, through something called the electron transport chain, and then we get cell energy at the other end that produces ATP and water. If we have some type of challenges with the mitochondria, if we have a cell stress response, if our cells are loaded with excess fuel, if we have reduced T4 to T3 conversion, there's going to be reduced mitochondrial function. So there's less food energy we can push through the mitochondria, less food energy we can push through the Krebs cycle, less food energy we can push through the electron transport chain to convert into cell energy, because A, we don't have the tools to help support it, or the cells and tissues don't need it. That extra food energy can come out of Krebs cycle and be converted to cholesterol. Now, there's other ways to make cholesterol, but we're just kind of giving an example in this situation. So that excess food energy can come out of the cell as cholesterol. Is this good or is it bad? Well, it's a good thing. So if I have extra food energy that I don't need to make into cell energy, then I can convert it into cholesterol. Now I can make cholesterol into some important things. We can use that cholesterol to make sex hormones and adrenal hormones. We can make it to help support neurotransmitters and things like vitamin D and cell membranes and a whole bunch of other really important things. And we have these things called lipoproteins. So cholesterol coming out of the cell is bound to this thing called a lipoprotein. LDL, VLDL, HDL are the common lipoproteins you hear about. And these lipoprotein boats essentially carry the cholesterol around the body, and then they get to the tissue. That lipoprotein needs to dock on those tissues, and then the cholesterol can be pulled into the cell to then be used. In the case of something like the adrenal gland, the HDL cholesterol can bind to receptors on the outside of the adrenal tissue. Once those receptors bind, the cholesterol can be pulled into the cell. Now, what's important is those HDL receptors are T3 dependent. So if you have decreased T3 inside those cells and tissues, you may not get the HDL cholesterol to dump off the cholesterol into those tissues to make adrenal hormones. So that can be really important. Also, you need T3 inside the adrenal tissue to help support and run the mitochondria to make efficient levels or sufficient levels of cholesterol into the adrenal hormones. So if I have decreased T3, it's harder to get the cholesterol out of the bloodstream and into the cells and tissues. If the cells and tissues don't want or need that cholesterol, then any excess cholesterol can go off to the liver so that it can be excreted. It can be excreted as cholesterol. That cholesterol can be converted and made into bile. Now, LDL, VLDL, these lipoproteins need to dock at the liver and dump off the contents. And again, especially at the liver, the LDL receptor is T3 dependent. So if you have reduced T3 in circulation, reduced T3 at the liver, you're going to have more LDL staying in circulation, more cholesterol in circulation, because you can't get the cholesterol to get docked and dump into the liver so it can be converted into bile or excreted. And so cholesterol, if it can't be used by the tissue, it can't be used into the liver, what happens to your cholesterol? It builds up in the bloodstream. So we have higher cholesterol, we have higher LDL, potentially higher HDL, and potentially higher VLDL. We'll talk about that on another video. And now we've got higher levels of cholesterol. Cholesterol is not bad. You need it to do a whole bunch of important things in the body, but the longer it stays built up in the bloodstream, the more likely it is that inflammatory and oxidative reactions can happen to the cholesterol and those lipoproteins, and that can result in more damage, especially more damage to the tissues, especially the arteries. So if you have increased cholesterol in the blood, if you have increased LDL in the blood, if you have increased HDL, increased VLDL in the blood, what does that tell us? That tells us there's reduced T3 in circulation and reduced T3 inside different tissues. So they can't utilize the cholesterol appropriately. They also can't make that food energy into cell energy at a high level. Therefore, it's coming out as cholesterol. They've got something going on at the cell and tissue level that's resulting in decreased T3, more cholesterol coming out into the bloodstream, and then there's reduced levels of T3 in some of the peripheral tissues to pull the cholesterol out of the bloodstream and use it to make hormones, neurotransmitters, cell membranes, and now we've got more cholesterol building up, and instead of being able to be used, it's going to the liver to try and be excreted, and because of reduced T3 at the liver, we may have an inability to make that cholesterol into bile and get that excess cholesterol out of the body so it builds up in the bloodstream. So if you think you have a thyroid condition, but your TSH is normal and your free T4 is normal, and that's all your doctor will run, if your cholesterol, LDL, maybe even HDL and VLDL are elevated, it's a good indication that you have reduced conversion of T4 to T3 in the bloodstream and or the tissues. Now I'm going to give some caution here because somebody might say, well, that's the reason we need to give T3. If the person has decreased T4 to T3 conversion, let's just give them T3. That T3 may increase the amount of T3 in circulation, but it may not change what's happening at some of the tissue levels. There still may be reduced conversion of T4 to T3, and the person could have optimized their T3 with a T3 medication, but still have elevated lipids, even though they're taking additional T3 and somebody's put enough T3 into the bloodstream. When they measure it, they say, hey, this has been optimized, but cholesterol level is still high, LDL is still high. So the answer here is not just to give T3. Remember, most of the T3 in the body is not made by the thyroid gland. It's made by peripheral tissues converting T4 to T3. So the real solution here to lower the cholesterol is to find out what's causing the reduction in T4 to T3 conversion. That's usually secondary to some type of cell stress inflammatory process that can be associated with your diet, with your gut, with bacteria, with other organisms, with toxins, with disrupted sleep, disrupted breathing, emotional stress. So our job is not to just give medication. That's what allopathic medicine does, and we give them a hard time. What our job is in functional medicine is to help you understand what's creating this threat response in your body so that you can convert T4 to T3 better. And when you convert T4 to T3 better naturally, you're going to see an improvement of your LDL, your HDL, your LDL, VLDL, and you're going to feel and function better. Hope this helps. Put your comments below wherever you watch the video. All right, take care.